In the autumn of 1730, the streets of Istanbul became the stage for one of the most dramatic popular uprisings in Ottoman history. What began as scattered protests by disgruntled soldiers and urban workers rapidly transformed into a mass movement that shook the foundations of imperial authority. Led by a former janissary known as Patrona Halil, the revolt culminated in the overthrow of Sultan Ahmed III and brought a sudden end to the Tulip era, a period remembered for cultural refinement, Western-inspired reforms, and elite luxury. The Tulip era had emerged after years of costly warfare when the Ottoman leadership sought stability through diplomacy, cultural renewal, and controlled modernization. The court promoted art, architecture, poetry, and leisure. Tulip gardens flourished, palaces multiplied along the Bosphorus, and European fashions entered elite circles. For the ruling class, this was an age of elegance and optimism. For much of the population, however, it was a time of growing frustration. Economic pressure lay at the heart of public discontent. Inflation eroded wages, while new taxes were imposed to fund court extravagance and military reforms. Urban workers struggled to afford basic necessities. Artisans faced declining demand as imported luxury goods gained favor among elites. Soldiers, particularly janissaries, saw their pay lose value and their traditional status threatened by reformist policies. Patrona Halil emerged from this volatile environment. A former sailor and janissary with roots in the urban lower classes, he became a symbol of resistance for those who felt excluded from the benefits of reform. His appeal did not rest on ideology alone, but on shared grievance. He spoke the language of the streets, of hunger, injustice, and betrayal by a ruling elite that seemed increasingly distant from ordinary life. The revolt began in late September 1730, when groups of janissaries and civilians gathered in Istanbul's markets and squares. They protested rising prices, corruption, and the influence of reformist officials associated with the Tulip era. The movement quickly gained momentum. Shops closed, crowds grew, and the capital descended into unrest. One of the primary targets of popular anger was the Grand Vizier and leading architect of the Tulip-era reforms. Seen as the embodiment of excess and Western influence, he became a lightning rod for resentment. Protesters demanded his execution, along with the dismantling of institutions linked to elite luxury and reform. As the uprising spread, the palace hesitated. Ahmed III, known for his patronage of art and culture, was unprepared for the scale of opposition. Attempts to calm the crowds through concessions failed. The janissaries, whose loyalty was crucial, largely sided with the rebels or remained neutral. Without decisive military support, the Sultan's authority weakened by the hour. Within days, the revolt reached the gates of the palace. Facing mounting pressure, Ahmed III agreed to the rebels' demands. High-ranking officials were dismissed and executed. Yet the concessions did not satisfy the crowd. The revolt had moved beyond reform. It now demanded regime change. On October 1, 1730, Ahmed III was forced to abdicate. He was replaced by Mahmud I, a ruler seen as more acceptable to conservative and military factions. With the abdication, the Tulip era came to an abrupt end. Palaces were abandoned, gardens destroyed, and symbols of elite excess dismantled. The message was clear. The age of visible luxury had cost the throne. For a brief period, Patrona Halil held immense influence. He was allowed access to the palace, advised officials, and effectively acted as a power broker. His rise demonstrated the strength of popular mobilization, but also revealed its limits. The Ottoman system was not designed to accommodate mass leadership outside traditional structures. The same forces that had enabled Halil's ascent soon turned against him. His continued presence near power alarmed the ruling elite and threatened stability. Fearing chaos and further unrest, the new administration moved swiftly. Within weeks, Patrona Halil and his closest supporters were arrested and executed, restoring order through force rather than reconciliation. Despite the suppression of its leader, the revolt left a lasting impact. The Tulip-era reforms were largely reversed. Western-style excess was curtailed, and public displays of luxury were reduced. The state adopted a more cautious approach to change, mindful of the backlash that unchecked reform could provoke. Yet the underlying problems remained unresolved. Economic inequality persisted. Inflation continued to strain daily life. The relationship between rulers and ruled remained fragile. The revolt had ended an era, but it had not healed the social divisions that produced it. The Patrona Halil revolt stands as a powerful example of how cultural and economic policies can collide with public sentiment. Reform without inclusion, modernization without equity, and luxury without restraint proved unsustainable. The uprising was not merely a rejection of tulips, palaces, or Western fashion. It was a protest against exclusion and perceived injustice. In historical memory, the revolt is often portrayed as a conservative backlash that halted progress. Yet it can also be understood as a warning from below, a reminder that stability depends not only on vision at the top, but consent among the many. The fall of Ahmed III marked a turning point in Ottoman governance. From that moment onward, rulers approached reform with greater caution, balancing innovation against tradition and public tolerance. The tulip era ended not in gradual decline, but in sudden rupture, its elegance swept away by anger rooted in everyday hardship. In the crowded streets of Istanbul, the revolt revealed a truth that would echo through Ottoman history. When economic pain meets visible privilege, even the most refined era can collapse overnight.